Good evening, friends. Today we would be talking about the subject of renal sparing surgery. I'm sure you've heard about this particular name. It used to be called partial nephrectomy earlier on, but it is now increasingly being called renal sparing surgery. And the object of this talk is whether you would do a partial nephrectomy later on in your life or not, but you need to understand the implications of sparing an organ. And what are the various angles to this particular subject related to kidney? That is what we will be talking about. Essentially, the principles, the statement of techniques, what are the outcomes, and possible future directions. Now, as I said, it used to be called as partial nephrectomy. We are calling it renal sparing because we understand the need and importance of preserving the kidney substance as much as possible, much as we want to get rid of a possible malignant pathology in the kidney. As you are already aware, in my previous lecture, I had mentioned that up to 30% of lesions which you see on CT scan and suspect them to be renal cancers, that is RCCs, turn out to be benign. So it's very important to understand the implication of preserving the renal substance. Of course, the improvement that has taken over a period of time is it has become a standard of care for T1 renal masses. I'll tell you, they show you slides regarding what is the staging of RCCs just for revision purposes. But this has now become the standard of T1 renal masses under 7 centimeters so that that particular kidney can be preserved. It has long-term implications, which I'll show you in the slides. And it also, of course, maintains the oncological control. That means, you want a tube along with safe margin, right? It need not be very wide. It is not possible to make it very wide in kidney and other organs. But even a small wide margin is good enough. It does give you the benefit of an oncological control, and renal function is also preserved. And in which particular cases this particular procedure becomes critical? They are outlined here. One is in the case of solitary kidney, obviously, because the kidney would be lost if you were to do a radical nephrectomy. Two, if you have bilateral tumors, then you must preserve as much of the renal substance as possible so that life can be led without dependence on dialysis. And the third situation where if you have a pre-existing chronic kidney disease, obviously already the kidneys are already affected and you would like to keep as much of the kidney as possible. And there are certain hereditary syndromes like Pepin-Heimdall syndrome, etc. So we will not talk about hereditary syndromes. We are only sticking to the principles of renal preservation. You might ask, what is this reason that we should go? What is the reason that we should struggle so much to preserve the kidney? Earlier on, we used to do partial nephrectomy. They were also not easy because of the vast of the kidney. As you may be knowing, kidney receives approximately 20 to 25% of the cardiac output. So therefore, it's a very vascular organ. Even if you want to do a partial nephrectomy, it used to be a task, right? But why today we are very particular that we should preserve? This question might come to your mind. That is because it prevents long-term CKD progression. You may have a situation where you're already operating on a patient who is in CKD, or CKD might occur de novo, as I'll show you in the next slide. So it prevents long-term CKD progression, and it also reduces the risk of cardiovascular morbidity, how I'll talk to you in the next slide, and of course have achieved good oncological outcomes. So because of these three conditions, we are therefore able to achieve the principles of functional urology. This is a subject which is increasingly developing now. So therefore, comes under the subject of functional urology. I will talk about that later. Now, when I said CKD risk rises sharply with nephron loss, what does it mean? As I said, you may have which is already a pathological kidney in terms of a chronic kidney disease, or the proneness to CKD increases if you are left with one kidney only. So this has been found in various studies. So therefore, we want to reduce that risk. And of course, achieve an oncological safety. That means if you have a T1 kidney mass, then you should be able to achieve an oncological safety, removing a margin of the normal kidney tissue along with the tumor. That is what we mean by oncological safety. And what about the long-term outcomes? It has been found that if you have less of renal substance, the chance of having a cardiovascular morbidity becomes much higher. Why? Because kidney is, at the end of the day, concerned with maintenance of water and electrolytes. And both these are very much important for cardiovascular morbidity. Now, for example, if supposing water is not handled properly and the patient develops hypervolemia, obviously that will raise the blood pressure. And in the long term, that can increase cardiovascular mortality and morbidity. Similar thing, theory goes for electrolytes as well. So this is the reason why you want to preserve the kidney. And of course, the quality of life per se, metabolic stability, and fewer dialysis risks. So I think I've been able to bring the reasons forward as to why we should maintain the renal kidney substance as much as possible. That means reduce CKD, reduce CVD, and of course, maintain the oncological control. So keeping that in mind, how do we go about it? Now, I have actually deliberately projected this slide, which seems to be not in sync with the subject we are talking. But basically, I remember veterans. You may have straight away not remembering what is the T1 lesion. So I thought I should put up this slide so that you know exactly what we're talking about. Now, look at this situation that T1 is under centimeters, like this one, is under 7 centimeters and is confined to the kidney. That means it's organ-confined cancer under 7 centimeters. Remember, the longitudinal length of the kidney is 10 centimeters. The width of the kidney is around 5 centimeters, 3 to 5 centimeters. So therefore, you can imagine then now, put it in context. What is our 7 centimeter tumor? This is in fact further divided into two, T1A and T1B. T1A are those tumors which are less than 4, which are around 4 centimeters, and T1B between 4 and 7 centimeters. This becomes important because we are trying to achieve an oncological control and retain the kidney substance. T2 is when tumor is more than 7 centimeters, but still organ confined. And the tumor, T3, the tumor has grown into nearby tissues and sometimes entered the veins as well. But it has not broken through the kidney capsule. And T4, of course, it has broken through the kidney capsule. By capsule, we mean basically we should put it as the rotas fascia and not the kidney capsule as such, because that is the one which confines the tumor. And if it breaks through, then that is a T4 lesion. And lymph nodes and metastasis, N0 for none and N1 for lymph nodes, metastasis M0 for none and M1 for distant metastasis. So now we are pitching renal conservation as the thing to do for T1 lesions. Just for your revision once again, and this is the staging. Stage 1 is what we are looking at. That is T1, N0, M0. This is the one that we are pitching renal control for, renal conservation for. So now let's come to the indications. Some you can say are absolute indications. That means you have no option but to do renal sparing surgery. And there are other indications which are written as relative and elective. So let us look at it. Absolute indications, like I mentioned before, in case of solitary kidney, in case of bilateral renal tumors, and if you have already got a pre-existing renal insufficiency, I mentioned as CKD earlier. So if you have these three situations, quite clearly, you have to preserve the kidney, you have no choice. And what are the other relative indications? That means if tumors are less than 4 centimeters, as I told you, T1 is divided into T1A. It's quite a small, relatively small tumor that is under 4 centimeters. And the tumor location is favorable. We'll talk about that location later on. By favorable, what we mean is that if it is either in the cortex or more of an exophytic lesion than an endophytic lesion. Let's put it that way. In that situation, when what is exophytic, it means it is coming out of the cortex of the kidney and more outside of the cortex than inside of the cortex. That's a favorable tumor location, and you would like to do a renal conservation. And of course, electively, sometimes in case of T1B tumors, that is 4 to 7 centimeters. And why we say selected tumors? Because their location could be critical, supposing they're closely located to the hilum of the kidney, more endophytic than exophytic, then it has to be an elective decision. You have to take a call depending upon the situation. So these are the indications, and this you must know, because this basically one of the purposes of this lecture is this slide. You must know the indications, and of course you should also know what are the contraindications. Contraindication means if you are finding that it's an infiltrative tumor or an unresectable tumor, you should not go for a situation where you think, acha, very large tumor, let's take out a part of it. No, it's not indicated. And if you have poor surgical candidates, like say elderly, with a lot of morbidities, and if you have unfavorable tumor location, central, I hope I'll require you to imagine that a bit. Let us say you have the PCS here, and your tumor is sitting here. That is 50 exophytic, 50 endophytic. Your tumor is sitting here, which means more endophytic than exophytic. On the other hand, your tumor is sitting here, then you have got a problem because it is involving the collecting system. And if it goes further inside, then it is involving the hilum of the kidney. So in such a situation, you may not be able to perform a sparing surgery. You have extensive comorbidities. I've already mentioned elderly candidates with a lot of comorbidities that might even limit not only you, but it might also limit the surgeon. Not only you, but it will limit the anesthetist as well. So therefore, in those situations, do not expect to do a renal sparing surgery.